Hello and welcome to the morning sports briefing here on Tuesday, the 23rd of February. I hope you're having a wonderful start to your week. Hi, I'm Paul and I'll be your host this morning as we run through the cricket news as the New Zealand vs Australian T20 series kicks off. We'll bring you up to speed with what's going to be happening in the A-League. There is rugby news for you, both in Super Rugby and the Six Nations. Also, we'll be touching on the NBA and also the NBL as well. So in the basketball, we'll bring you up to speed with how Danny Lee went in the Genesis Open over in the PGA. And this is your best way to start the day up to speed with all of the important sports news. Over in the Genesis Open, and Homer came through to win that one in a playoff against Finau. He won the playoff 7-8 after they both finished at 12 under par. Danny Lee made the cut, but finished back in tied 52nd place, 2 over par in this one. The next PGA Golf will be this coming weekend with the Puerto Rico Open, and we'll obviously bring you up to speed with that, or keep you up to speed with that with the on the morning sports briefing as it happens in the PGA Tour. Moving on then to basketball, sticking in the States, and yesterday we had 8 games. Looking at the pick of those results. The Bucks beat the Kings 128-115, which is a good result for them as they put back-to-back wins together after that losing streak. The Raptors beat the 76ers 110-103 there, and the Clippers lose to the Nets 108-112. Also, the Pelicans took on the Celtics with the Steve Adams still out injured, unfortunately, for the Pelicans, but they went behind in the first half, losing both the opening quarter, both the first and second quarter, to be trailing 63 to 47 at half time. But a comeback saw them level it and take the game into overtime, which they won 12-7 to take the game 120-115. Leading the way were those 2 players for the Pelicans, Brandon Ingram again with 33 points, and Zion Williamson with a double-double, 10 rebounds and 28 points. He was helped also by Josh Hart off the bench with 10 rebounds and 17 points for a double-double, and Willie Hernan Gomez, who is stepped in for Steven Adams, got 13 rebounds as well. So good rebounding there for the Pelicans. Really helped them in this game. For the Celtics, they were led by Jason Tatum, with 32 points, and Jaylen Brown with 25 points, but it wasn't enough for them, and the Pelicans pick up the win. Looking at the table then, the 76ers still top the table ahead of the Nets and the Bucks, despite that loss for the 76ers. Over on the Western Conference side, the Jazz, Lakers, and Clippers at the top there, but all have lost recently on losing streaks. So will that allow the Suns to catch up? The Pelicans down in 11th place now, having won that game. Over in the NBL, yesterday we saw 2 games. The Hawks beat the Breakers 102-88, unfortunately, and the Melbourne United beat the Taipans 88-81. In that Hawks Breakers game, the Breakers were led by Corey Webster coming off the bench and scoring 22 points. Ty Webster picked up 20 points starting in that guard position. Colton Iverson picked up 17 rebounds for the Breakers, but it wasn't enough against the Hawks, who were led by Tyler Harvey with 22 points. 2 more games today in the NBL, with the Kings taking on the Wildcats at 7 p.m. New Zealand time, and the 36ers taking on the Southeast Melbourne's Phoenix at 9:30 p.m. Sticking over there in Australia and in the A-League, No games yesterday, but today Melbourne City FC will take on Sydney FC. Sydney FC sat in 5th place, Melbourne FC down in 12th, bottom of the table. So you're going to say Sydney FC would go into that one as favourites. The Phoenix are back in action on Wednesday night against Melbourne Victory at 9 p.m. there. Moving on to the rugby, and Brad Weber has been named as co-captain along with Sam Cane for the Chiefs for this upcoming season. So good luck to the both of them. Over in Europe, and France have had 10 positive COVID tests ahead of their game against Spain. Against Scotland this weekend. We'll have to. Decision is said to be taking place on Wednesday evening UK time, so we'll have to wait and see what the outcome is of that. But it's very difficult to see that game going ahead. Moving on to cricket then, and New Zealand and Australia took part in their first T20 game. Australia would have been happy with how they started the game, getting Martin Guptill out for 0, and Tim Seifert out for 1, reducing the Black Caps to 2 for 11. Kane Williamson departed soon afterwards at 3 for 19, and things were looking to be in trouble. But the man of the moment, Devon Conway, stood up then and made some good partnerships with Glenn Phillips and James Neesham. Devon Conway batted through to score 99 off 59 balls and power New Zealand to 184 in that one. 2 wickets for Daniel Sams and Giles Richardson. They both took 2 wickets each for Australia. And if we look at the Manhattan, you can see there with those blue columns that Australia would have been happy with their first 10 or so overs, but in the last 10 overs, being powered by Devon Conway, the Black Caps only dropped below 10 runs an over twice for 2 overs. All the other overs go for way more. They go for 10 or more, which was a very good performance by Devon Conway. In reply, and Tim Southey and Trent Boult really put the brakes on very early for Australia, reducing them to 4 for 19 in the first 5 overs. Mitchell Marsh put together some sort of fight back, scoring 45, and was helped by Ashton Agar with 23. But Sodhi stepped up and picked up 4 wickets in his 4 overs to really put the brakes back on and wrap up the innings. Also helped out there by Satner and Jameson also picking up a wicket each. So good bowling by Ish Sodhi there later in the innings, picking up those wickets. That meant that New Zealand won the game by 53 runs as Australia were all bowled out for 131. So a great start there for the Black Caps. I know there were definitely some worried people early in that New Zealand innings there. Don't forget that you can hear our thoughts on swinging, on cricket thoughts on swinging from the hip, that comes to 8 p.m. every single Monday, and that will be. We had the show last night. I'll be putting up the podcast this morning. They were talking during the game, so yes. No post-match reaction to that one, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of reaction next Monday at 8 p.m. Tonight we'll have the Driving Maul show at 8 p.m. We'll go through all of the hot topics in rugby, talking about obviously those COVID cases over in the UK and what that means for Six Nations, as well as previewing the Super Rugby Aotearoa, which kicks off this weekend. Also, don't forget that I have got interviews from the Jet Sprint at Merry Merry coming out at 6 p.m. every day this week. So check those out on our Facebook page over on New Zealand Sports Radio. I hope you're all having a wonderful day and Catch you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. for the morning sports briefing.